Is it safe to travel to Cuba right now? This is a question that comes up again and again, and it's not hard to see why. Cuba occupies a singular place in the imagination of travelers. For decades, it has been both tantalizingly close and frustratingly out of reach for many. It's the place you've seen in photographs. Streets lined with pastel buildings and classic American cars, rhythms of salsa spilling into the night air, beaches so bright and white, they look almost unreal. But beyond the postcards and the music, Cuba is a country that has lived in the shadow of tension for generations. The long-standing embargo imposed by the United States, along with other sanctions, has shaped almost every facet of daily life here. If you're thinking about visiting, you need to know not only how it looks, but how it really feels to be in a place that is beautiful and complicated all at once. I'm Stephen with the Travel Safety Network. Over the past 27 years, I've traveled the world teaching and consulting in industrial safety and risk management. These days, I've turned my focus to travel safety. In this video, I'm going to take an honest look at what you should expect if you travel to Cuba in 2025. We'll explore how the embargo affects health, infrastructure, and daily life. We'll talk about the differences between Havana and the all-inclusive resorts that so many Canadians, Europeans, and others have come to love. And we'll look at what the world's major travel advisories have to say, so you can decide if this is the right time for you to visit. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to share a surprising fact about Cuba, something that might just change the way you think about it altogether. To understand safety in Cuba, you have to begin with context. For over 60 years, the U.S. embargo has shaped the Cuban economy in profound ways. While other countries, including Canada and most European nations, maintain trade and diplomatic relations with Cuba, the legacy of the embargo still means that access to many goods, materials, and financial services is restricted. This creates shortages that ripple out through daily life in ways you can feel as a traveler. You will likely notice it first in the infrastructure. Even in Havana, power outages are common. Water pressure can be inconsistent. Elevators, air conditioning, and Wi-Fi may not work as reliably as you'd expect. In smaller towns, these issues can be even more pronounced. Supplies that you take for granted at home, basic medicines, toiletries, spare parts, may be difficult to find or simply unavailable. And yet you will also see something else. Resilience. Cubans have become experts in maintaining, repairing, and reimagining what they have. Those classic American cars you see rolling through the streets of Havana? Many of them are held together by decades of improvisation and ingenuity. The same is true of the hotels and guest houses. The spirit of making do is everywhere, and it's part of what makes Cuba feel so different from anywhere else. From a safety standpoint, Cuba is, in many respects, a place where violent crime against tourists is extremely rare. The Cuban government has a vested interest in maintaining tourism as one of the country's main economic engines. You will find a visible police presence in tourist areas, and visitors often report feeling safer here than in many other destinations in the Caribbean or Latin America. However, that doesn't mean there are no risks. Petty crime, such as pickpocketing or minor scams, can happen, especially in Havana's busiest tourist districts. If you wander off the main avenues late at night or let your guard down in crowded markets, you could become an easy target for opportunists. There's also a distinction between the experience you'll have in Havana and the experience you'll have in an all-inclusive resort. In Havana, you are immersed in the real Cuba, its beauty and its challenges. You will see crumbling facades beside painstakingly restored colonial buildings. You'll walk streets that feel alive with music and conversation, but also marked by scarcity. You'll likely encounter Cubans who approach you to sell souvenirs or offer unofficial tours, sometimes persistently. In contrast, the all-inclusive resorts, most of them concentrated in places like Varadero, Cayo Coco, and Holguin, are in many ways sealed worlds. These properties are designed to insulate visitors from the realities of the broader economy. The power stays on, the buffets stay full, the pools sparkle, and the entertainment goes on schedule every night. For many travelers, especially those looking for a relaxing beach holiday, this is exactly what they want. A chance to decompress without thinking too hard about what's happening beyond the resort gates. But it's worth understanding that the supply chains serving the resorts are still affected by the broader economic climate. food variety can be limited by what's available. You may notice certain imported items, wine, packaged snacks, toiletries, are sometimes in short supply or replaced by local alternatives. Health and hygiene in Cuba are better than many expect, but there are important caveats. The country has a robust healthcare system, and Cuban doctors are highly regarded. In fact, Cuba has exported medical expertise to dozens of countries around the world. But the same shortages that affect infrastructure also affect medicine. If you have a chronic condition or require specific prescriptions, you must bring enough to last your entire stay. Don't count on being able to replace them easily if something gets lost or runs out. When it comes to water, the general advice is to avoid drinking tap water. Even in hotels, bottled water is recommended for drinking and brushing teeth. Most resorts and reputable restaurants use purified ice and prepare food with safe water. But if you're exploring local eateries in Havana or smaller towns, be cautious. Many travelers stick to bottled beverages and freshly cooked hot meals. Food safety in Cuba is, overall, good in the resorts, where kitchens operate under higher standards and cater to international guests. In local paladares, privately run restaurants that have flourished in recent years, you can have extraordinary meals, but hygiene can vary. It helps to do a little research or ask locals and fellow travelers for recommendations. Another dimension of safety in Cuba relates to who you are. In general, Cuba is welcoming to travelers of all backgrounds. There is relatively little violent crime, and racial and religious diversity among visitors is widely accepted. However, it's important to remember that Cuba remains a conservative society in certain ways. Public displays of affection, regardless of orientation, are less common than in North America or Europe. While Havana has a growing LGBTQ+ community and hosts annual Pride events, attitudes in rural areas are more traditional. LGBTQ+ travelers generally report feeling safe, especially in tourist zones, but discretion is still advisable in some contexts. Women traveling alone often report feeling safer in Cuba than in many other Latin American countries. That said, catcalling and unwanted attention can occur, especially in Havana's busier streets. Most of it is harmless, but it can be persistent. Dressing modestly and carrying yourself confidently tends to reduce this behavior. Even though tourist travel to Cuba is prohibited for American citizens, non-tourist travel is controlled and regulated by permit from the U.S. Office of Foreign Assets Control. The State Department currently advises permitted American visitors to exercise increased caution due to the risk of arbitrary detentions and the limited ability of the U.S. Embassy in Havana to provide assistance. This is a direct result of the strained diplomatic relations that persist between the two countries. For Canadians, the guidance from Global Affairs Canada is more moderate, encouraging normal precautions while acknowledging occasional shortages and infrastructure issues. The UK Foreign Office echoes these points, reminding travelers that cash access can be complicated and that basic goods can be limited. Australia's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade similarly advises visitors to be prepared for shortages and to carry sufficient supplies of essential medications. So is it safe to travel to Cuba? The honest answer is that it depends on what you expect. If you come prepared, if you understand that this is a country shaped by decades of isolation and ingenuity, you are likely to have a safe, fascinating, and rewarding experience. If you arrive expecting everything to work exactly as it does at home, you may be frustrated. But if you can embrace the slower pace, the occasional unpredictability, and the chance to see a place that is unique in the world, Cuba has a way of getting under your skin in the best possible way. And now, here's the surprise I promised you. Despite all the challenges of the embargo, Cuba has developed one of the most impressive public health systems in the Caribbean. Literacy rates are among the highest in the region, and life expectancy rivals that of much wealthier countries. It's a reminder that Cuba is a place full of paradoxes, where limitations have inspired resilience, and where hardship has often been met with a fierce determination to endure. I'm Stephen with the Travel Safety Network. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with anyone thinking about a trip to Cuba. And stay tuned for my upcoming videos, where I'll dive deeper into what makes this island so compelling and how you can experience it safely and respectfully. Until next time, stay informed, stay open-minded, and remember, Safety is your travel superpower.